From news and product reviews to husbandry, habitat, and conservation, we discuss all things reptile. With special guests from all around the world, we talk about the reptiles we keep, the unique ways we keep them, and how we can work together to push herpetoculture forward and preserve the species we love. From the guys who brought you Greg's Reptile Studio and Hudson Valley Reptile and Rescue, this is the Reptile Studio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Reptile Studio podcast with myself, Brian, and Greg. Greg is from Greg's Reptile Studios, and I am from Hudson Valley Reptile and Rescue. And with us today, we have Jacop from Northern Reptiles, I believe his handle on Instagram is. And he works with some exciting creatures. And I'm going to open up the floor to Jacop. Let's tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you work with primarily? What's your favorite species?
Oh, my God. Right now, the black-headed python. That's the list. Yeah. It was a long dream. And I was so happy that I actually got a hold of a pair a few years ago. And then I got some more, and I've booked some more as well. Even more.
Incredible. Yeah. I saw a couple of I saw somebody was holding very large on your Instagram, very large black-headed pythons. And I think you were
quite big.
Oh, that was a very good, whatever that thread was that I looked at this morning was incredible. I have been following you for about 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Oh, wow. I noticed I liked one of your Bismarck pythons pictures earlier this year, and I was like, I don't know if I follow him or not. And then I'm scrolling through, and I was like, oh, I do. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel so bad. And you come from Sweden, correct?
I do. Yeah.
So you're in a completely different country with a completely different availability of reptiles compared to Greg and myself here in the United States. Is there something that's more prolific or more prevalent there than here in the United States? I mean, here we have the big five. I call them the leopard geckos, ball pythons, bearded dragons, crested geckos, and typically corn snakes. But that's interchangeable with pretty much any colubrid that's exciting for the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Now we got pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I think we get everything that you get, it's just a different price range.
Gotcha.
And because we got Europe, the rules in Europe are we can keep basically whatever we want. So we can just go down to a different country and get whatever we want. And
right.
That's more or less it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So do you share with the United Kingdom, do you share those same regulations that they have for pet reptiles?
Not with the UK.
No,
since they got out of the European Union.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was very curious.
So we got the same. We have some different regulations with like sizes and like that, but yeah, more or less we can keep whatever we want here in Sweden.
Fantastic.
I mean, in the US, the regulations between states are like totally different countries.
Oh, really?
So I might be able to relate more with you on some sort of regulation involving animals than Brian can, and vice versa. It's pretty extreme contrast between states, even states that are on your border.
That's pretty weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very weird. And I think
isn't it?
They separated it all out so that states could make their own rules as far as regulated animals. If you go I live here in New York State, which is heavily regulated. I was licensed. I jumped through those hoops. I worked with crocodilians and all sorts of large constrictors and so on and so forth. Oh, wow. But my neighboring state, Pennsylvania, which is literally shares a huge border with New York, is what I refer to as the Wild West of reptiles. You can literally have anything you want there. Awesome. Cobras, mambas, vipers, anything. You go to a reptile show in Pennsylvania and there's anything on the table, which is fascinating. And a lot of people keep these animals in that state.
Yeah.
Do I think somebody needs to be able to buy a bucket full of alligators? Probably not. But if you want one, you can go to Pennsylvania. No, don't do that, everyone. Don't do that. Know your state's regulations before you get pets, guys. It's very, very different. Here in New York, we have restrictions on large constrictors, large lizards, and absolutely no venomous without a permit, and no crocodilians either.
That's how it should be, though. if you ask me.
I don't necessarily disagree. I also don't necessarily agree 100% with some of them.
No.
You know, there's certain species that are on there that probably don't need to be.
All right. Yeah.
Right. Like,
As a generalization, I think that's a pretty good law.
Right. New York State took it a little far.
Okay.
I think if they dialed it back, and I think if they made their licensing program easier for people to attain and find somebody else who has the knowledge, has the ability to do it, I think it would be a much better situation.
I think Connecticut is pretty similar to New York in that aspect too. I mean, I would love to keep an eyelash viper or multiple eyelash vipers.
It would be multiple.
But the hoops
Plural.
that I would have to jump through in order to do that, you know, are pretty extensive, you know, which is a good thing because you don't want, your aunt, buying her other nephew an eyelash viper for Christmas who's never had one, never doesn't know anything about venomous snakes. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm pro sensible regulation.
Yeah.
But it's because more or less we have had we've done a bad job at self-regulating in the US, I think.
Yeah.
In the reptile hobby.
I don't think it's just the self-regulation in the reptile hobby. I think it's the sensationalism of media that really catapults this into the negative space here in the United States. I think we have a lot to answer for as hobbyists. Don't get me wrong, we're not doing it great, but in the same time, you have one or two mishaps and then they get blown way out of proportion and completely spread with negative information or false information and all this other stuff happens.
That's a global thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, now, yeah, right now it's now because social media is, I mean, here we are, we're recording a video in two different states in a completely different country on the other side of the world,
Exactly.
So because of this, I think it allows us to have intelligent conversations and put this information out there positively. And that's Greg and myself. That's one of the reasons why we want to do this podcast, is because it's so important for people to have a space that they can talk and share and understand and have these conversations with other people and other keepers, and realize that you don't have to be like, just you and your pet snake in the bedroom having conversations. You can open up and have a worldly experience and become a little more social in person, even though this is not necessarily as in person as you can get. I think it's still better than a text message or a social media post or what have you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what are there any real differences keeping reptiles in Sweden from the United States or any other country for that matter? Is there any you prepare differently because you have different climate or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we live indoors, so we don't really have to. But
exactly.
But we have some regular, some other size regulations. Do you have? So we need to keep them in larger enclosures that you usually do, and racks are not allowed unless you get a special permit. And if you're gonna get venomous in an apartment building, you need a permit for that. If it's in a villa, you don't need to, and different states have different rules on that part. So, but basically you can keep whatever you want.
So to keep a reptile in an apartment, it's not based on the individual apartment. It's actually
it's based on the apartment, not the species. So I can keep whatever species I want. I could keep crocodilians here if I want, because my area where I live isn't regulated.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. I wasn't sure I wasn't sure if you were going to have the similar regulations about venomous snakes or crocodilians.
It's kind of similar. They do have similarities.
Yeah, but it's definitely a lot easier to probably answer to your regulations than it is for us here to completely be abolished from ownership, you know.
Yeah, I would say so.
But that's good. What species do you work with primarily?
Is the black-headed pythons, and then I recently got a trio. I just got the male for my trio of rough-scale pythons. I got a trio of Bismarck pythons. I got a pair of diamonds. I got an olive.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. How big is your olive python?
Oh, it's 2.5 meters, I'd say.
Very nice.
In feet.
2.5 meters is like
That's 8.
8 feet, 7.5, 8 feet, something like that. I didn't do the conversion in my head. I know a meter is close to 3 feet. That's what we're going off of.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, it's like 3.14 or
right.
It's
high.
No, that's high.
There's some little bit. Why we use feet, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
We actually don't at work. At work, my normal job, we actually a couple of years ago started using metric system.
Oh,
good
for measuring. Yeah,
that is good.
That's right.
That is good. I'm a diesel mechanic, so I'm screwed up completely all the time, no matter what. It doesn't even matter half the time everything's metric, and the other half of the time, and it can be the same device, it's just two different parts of that device were built in two different parts of the world, so one's going to be metric and one's going to be standard. You can have a mixture of bolt sizes on each one. It's crazy,
so you got to know both.
It drives me nuts. No pun intended, actually. But so I mean, that's a great group of animals to work with. I mean, I think here in the States that would be a really high class level collection of only a few animals. You know, that would be great for anyone would be lucky to have that. Rough scales here are unattainable at times.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like 3 or 4 good breeders in all of Europe.
Wow.
So yeah.
I don't know any.
I have a couple of people that I know that keep them, but none have had success breeding them, whether they're too young or what the case may be. I'm not 100% as to their downfall, but that's it. I mean, I always love the dry tree dwelling carpet pythons, you know.
Yeah.
It's really pretty close to their description.
It is.
But they're definitely on my want list eventually.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it was amazing. I fell in love the first time I saw them.
Yeah.
I actually had no idea. I didn't even know they existed like 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And then when I saw one for the first time, I just fell in love. I had no idea what it was. I don't know where it came from. I didn't know anything.
That's amazing.
I just felt like I have to have it. You know that urge?
Oh yeah. Like, I know that urge. There's a Kunashir Island rat snake at the rescue right now that I know the urge. Trust me.
It's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's an amazing feeling once you accomplish that too, right?
Oh yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, that's the next level.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Finding it is the first thing. Like getting it, that's the second level. Oh my god, it's amazing.
It's great.
And the worst thing is when you find it and you can't get it though. That's the worst feeling.
I mean, that happens more often than anything else, though. You know?
How I feel
that's
with
a beautiful snake.
My Bolins.
Bolins.
Yeah, that's one of those.
Bolins.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for me, that's like the pinnacle.
That's a species and a half.
They're called the Holy Grail for a reason.
Yeah, they're hard to come by here in the States. They're very hard to come by. I think that's a global thing. I think Bolins are just very very difficult to and the people that have them, I don't think they want to give them up either. I think that's another part of this equation.
Exactly.
Even the ones that are breeding them, which I know there are a few. I don't know who they are personally or specifically, but I know there are people who are working with them. But I don't think they're going to let them go until they have enough of a group that they feel comfortable letting them into the pet trade.
Yeah, there have actually been some successful breedings here in Europe. I know 3 people who actually bred them. I haven't heard of any in the United States yet.
I know people are working with them. I don't know if they've actually successfully bred or not.
A lot of people keeping them, but no one actually successfully bred them. To my knowledge.
I don't even begin to know.
No, okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Your knowledge is probably way more prevalent than mine when it comes to Boelen's pythons. I just know I know that there is a matter of a situation in this country where we have animals that are being mass produced for pet trade while using that as the guise of the reptile hobby. In the meantime, the people who are actually part of the real reptile hobby, not to take away from the people who love their one pet and take very good care of it,
of course,
but the hobby began in everybody's basements when people would go to these swap meets and they would find these animals and then they would bring them home, try to keep them alive, try to procreate them, and then go from there. You know, that's the heart of the reptile industry. That's the heart of the hobby. That's where everyone I know from 25 years of doing this, all those old timers that talked to me and taught me how to do things, they're the ones that are they're scoffing their heads at these bearded dragon morph breeders and the ball python breeders, because they're like, why don't you just go take something from the wild, breed it, so we have a population in captivity that we don't have to take them from the wild anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Savannah monitors here are $29 or something crazy on pet store shelves.
Pretty much the same here.
And every single one of them is wild caught. Why has nobody worked with them to the point where we can get them captive bred if you want to sell them that?
I know a lot of people breeding green tree pythons.
Right.
I mean, there are a bunch of them, but we still get them from the wild.
Right. Which I don't think is right. Yeah. Ball pythons too. There's still an importation of ball pythons. Why?
How?
There's 30 million.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Do you have you have Morph Market, right? In the UK, in that European Union?
We have it, but it's not that big.
It's not that big.
No.
Man, here in the States, Morph Market is, if you go on to Morph Market from the United States and you are trying to look for, you know, something very specific, it's a nightmare if you're looking for something that's a ball python or a bearded dragon, because there's so many combinations at this point. Like I said, I started keeping 20 years ago before we started recording this, and piebalds 20 years ago, 25 years ago were $45,000 a piece, right? So everybody wanted a piebald ball python. Well, now everybody has them and they're $300 a piece. Like,
exactly.
It's a market that I think is becoming shortly oversaturated through time.
I remember seeing the first blue-eyed leucistic ball python at Hamm Expo in Germany, and it was actually from Bob Clark, and I think it was 30,000 euros or something. I think it's the same. It's almost the same in dollars, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I know in blue-eyed lucis today are like, what is it, $300 as well?
Yeah, I think I've seen them for $250. I mean, who knows when we leave the climate of the Corona situation and shows really start 100% back up, you know, who knows what prices are going to be then. I got a lot of breeders here that talk to me from all over New York State, but not just New York State, all over the country that are like, you know, nothing is selling. And I was like, well, it's breeding season. Are you breeding? Because, you know, if you're not selling this year, why breed? I don't get it.
Exactly. It makes no sense. That's why I'd rather have a smaller collection of the animals that I actually want.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it shows your animals on Instagram are absolutely fantastic. For anybody who is actually watching this, which is like 4 people, please, by all means, go check out Jacop on Northern Reptiles at Instagram. I promise you will not be saddened that you had. His images are fantastic. His captions are pretty funny, and he presents the hobby in a very good light. Thank you. But I mean, it's just a matter of craziness going on. You have some fascinating animals. You have a few choice animals, and I'm sure at some point you're going to breed them. And there's nothing wrong with the species that you have being bred. Nobody's breeding them en masse. I think there's one really good guy here in the States that breeds blackheads. His name is Derek Roddy.
Oh yeah, I know him.
I'm sure. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But he does phenomenal work, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a matter of people are being less choosy, I feel like, with certain species like ball pythons. And I don't know, maybe social media is to blame. maybe YouTubers telling people to go breed your animals and you can make this and you can make that, instead of like YouTubers doing like, check out this Boland's python that came from the wild. You know, this is a creature that exists in the wild. Or your olives are outstanding and impressive.
Sure are.
And if they're not friendly, they're very terrifying.
Like mine.
Oh, yours is not friendly, huh?
No, not at all.
Oh, my goodness. I've seen them both ways. I've seen large olives that are like, I don't want you anywhere near me. And I've seen olives that are like puppy dogs.
It seems to be like a 50-50 ratio of those.
Well, yeah. There are species that it's a crapshoot, hit or miss.
Yeah,
one's going to be good or not.
Yeah.
One species that's not supposed to be a crapshoot is the corn snake, and I seem to have the only corn snake in existence that is a complete asshole.
I don't think I've ever seen a mean corn, actually.
Say again?
I don't think I've ever seen a mean corn.
Well, I mean, compared to your 8-foot olive python, a corn snake trying to bite you would not be mean in any way.
No, that's right.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
True. But I'm actually more scared of the rough scales than I am of the olive, because of the teeth. Yeah, the massive teeth that rough scales has.
They have a very similar jaw structure to South American, what are they called? Emerald tree boa, the real big front teeth, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, they're designed to catch birds in the wild. And I'll tell you, I've been in the mouth of plenty of carpet pythons. That's not a fun adventure either. They have that same long recurve teeth.
Yeah, massive jaw.
Yeah, I don't like the grabbing, holding. Like a defensive bite from a carpet's nothing. It's just, bite and release. They don't care. No big deal. Sometimes they don't even try and bite you. They just hit you with their nose.
Yeah.
But man, when they're hungry and they think it's food, you got a nice 8-foot carpet grabbing your fingers. The last time I got bit was like right across here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I made a noise for the first time in 20 years. I've been bitten and like all kinds of other stuff. And I was like, oh, the guy that was in the room with me was like, oh, I knew you got bit the second you made that noise. I was like, yeah, there was nothing I could do. I opened the enclosure and I didn't even reach in or anything. I just opened it and I was like leaning to go reach in. And by that point, out and already had me wrapped up before I could
always
react.
Your fault, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's always
it's never the snake's fault.
I don't ever blame the snake. I don't even care.
No, you can't.
Nope. We have them in captivity. They deserve to be treated as kings and queens.
Exactly. Who wouldn't be pissed?
That's right. Right. Exactly. I'm sorry I didn't feed you quicker. Like, yes, master. Exactly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna upgrade the enclosure. My bad.
So do you guys have regulations on rodents there? Can you feed live? Can you?
No, we can't feed live, and we have pretty hard on the breeding aspect as well. Not as much as the breeding, but breeding for food, you can't really do because of the animal abusive thing that it's supposed to be killed correctly. And so I only know of 2 people actually selling food in mass quantities in all of Sweden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The reason I ask, I breed my own mice, and I used to breed my own rats years ago. And I heard, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody from the UK and I can't remember who they were. And they were like, we can't feed live, no. baby corn snakes. They better take that frozen thawed, there's no choice. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that seems criminal almost to me,
People still do.
Well, right.
I mean,
I'm sure.
I mean, you got to do what you can for the animals.
Yeah. You got to help.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They matter. They matter.
But no one does because it's illegal.
Right.
So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good.
It makes sense though. It makes sense though.
Yeah, of course it does.
You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, I've done some horrible things to rats and mice to make sure snakes survived. I've probably killed more rodents than any other person I know, at least. Rabbits, guinea pigs. I mean, whatever had to happen happened.
Yeah.
It's not a boast. I don't like doing it. I respect animals very, very much, but it's a matter of understanding that, both animals matter. I mean, I've worked in and out of the shelter industry as far as dogs and cats are concerned, and people have always looked at the rescue for reptiles as a very different thing. You know,
It's
we
all
don't
hobbies.
get the humanitarian aid. We don't get
Oh,
any
we
help
get
from the
nothing.
PETA people, you know. They don't like me.
No,
They don't like
no,
us. They don't like what we do. And at
not
the
at
end of the
all.
day, it's not about, you know, the fluffy animals matter more than your animals do. Well,
Exactly,
not
because they're
really.
not cute.
Yeah, not really, but we won't get into what's important in the wild. We'll just let
Yeah,
you think
yeah,
concentrically, and you can do whatever you want. But
that's good.
it's a crazy fine line that we have to walk here as reptile keepers
It
sometimes.
sure is.
So Jacob, quick question. It's kind of change
Yeah.
of pace, but I've been thinking about this since the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
What got you into reptiles?
Ooh,
Like, when did you start? When did you get your first reptile?
I got my first corn snake when I was in 4th grade. How old were you then? 9, 8, 7?
Yeah, I think, yeah, nine. Nine sounds about right.
Yeah,
Fourth
something like
grade?
that. Yeah, 4th
Yeah, I
grade.
believe 9 or 10, depends on.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Yeah,
That's
here in
when
the
I
States,
got
you
my
can
first
start a little
corn.
later.
Oh, yeah, and they actually thought I was sick. There's a story in the family going around. They thought I was sick when I was in kindergarten because I said all the names of the dinosaurs in Latin. So they were like, what's his deal? What's he doing? And when I realized that dinosaurs are pretty hard to get, I had to settle for the next best thing.
Dinosaurs are very hard to get.
You sure are. I mean,
I'm-
I saw Jurassic Park the first time when I was 4 years old, and it was my go-to movie. I mean, my whole childhood.
It's still my go-to movie.
Exactly, it's a good movie. I actually like the original ones way better than the last ones.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because there's genetic manipulation in the second group.
Exactly. It makes no sense. No, the pure T-Rex and a pure Velociraptor. I mean, that's
Right. Way
way
better.
to go.
Way
And
better.
I'm sure that's why I keep all the animals that I do as well. Because I mean, nature does it best.
Correct.
As soon as
Correct.
you get in it to manipulate, it's not
Right.
nature who made it anymore.
Right. As you manipulate genes, you create something that's not natural, that's not existing.
Exactly.
And there's a reason that animal exists in the wild the way that it does versus these color mutations or even physical mutations in some cases don't exist in the wild, is because they can't make it.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
albinism, for example, is like a guiding light to any hawk flying over any albino animal.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen though.
Yep, there are pieds in the wild. You know, I definitely understand it, but
Exactly.
what is
Yeah.
it? 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million? You know,
Yeah.
the numbers are completely off.
Now it's the other way around. 10
Right,
10
yeah.
million to 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I regularly find abandoned normal ball pythons everywhere.
Those are the most beautiful ball pythons, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I recently posted on our page, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, whatever. I took a really nice picture of a normal ball python, and I do this all the time. I don't know if you follow me at all. You don't have to.
I started today, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, no worries.
We posted a really nice picture of a normal ball python that was actually found in a apartment a couple towns over. And it was found by someone who does not keep snakes at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So my phone rang off the hook from the police department, and like this whole thing happened, right? And he's totally cool. He's very calm now. He wasn't the day that he came to me. He was very snappy, and he almost bit my girlfriend, and that was not a good thing for his remaining here, you know. But he you know, I posted this beautiful picture, and I can't believe the resounding like positivity that we got from posting that. You know, our posts are averaged fairly low by comparison to how many people actually follow us, but for some reason that normal ball python picture did exceptionally well by comparison, and I was very happy about that.
Awesome.
You know, because a lot of people who follow us on social media are not necessarily like yourself, which I wish more people like you would. But then they'll probably point out everything I'm saying wrong, and I don't really want that either. But
but I can unfollow you if you want.
No, please don't. We need all. But yeah, I mean, it is a matter of great importance that these people who don't necessarily know as much as the three of us do, kind of a situation. They learn something that to appreciate that normal ball python, and that's what we force ourselves to try and make that happen. You know, in just, you know, not forcing, I shouldn't say forcing, but we try and bring it to light and try and show people that normal snakes are cool. Normal bearded dragons are way less prone to problems.
Yeah.
Go figure. You change the genetic mutation. You changed it genetically, and it doesn't do as well. I wonder why.
Weird math. Don't know why.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So what's your plans for the future, Jacob? What are you
Oh my god. How long?
I don't care. 20 years.
Okay.
50 years?
Now I'm actually, I felt pretty when I got my last little rough scale python male, I felt kind of at ease with the collection. Like I don't need anything more.
Good.
That was an amazing feeling. So now I want to try and breed the Bismarcks, the blackheads, and the rough scales, and hopefully might get into something else during the way.
Right.
And do you still have the Do you still have the Fiji iguanas?
I don't. I
Oh,
had them as it was a loan from a friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to get them first and then realize I didn't want to keep them. So I had them here for a while, just to see if it worked out, and it didn't.
Were those from a captive bred source? Were those? Yeah, they're an amazing species. That's actually the only iguana that I like.
Oh, really?
Aesthetically, yeah.
Yeah.
I like all reptiles, you know, but I would keep a Fijian crested iguana.
They are gorgeous, but I mean, with all the salads and all the lighting with lizards and you get spoiled when you keep snakes.
Oh yeah, by far.
Yeah.
I usually use the equation. I usually use the equation of one lizard is like 20 snakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no, it didn't work out at this point in life. So yeah, no lizards here anymore.
That's okay. You still have a hell of a collection. Don't worry about it.
Not
You rival most zoos here in the United States.
Oh wow.
You know,
that's awesome.
Obviously, minus the venomous side of it, but
yeah, of course.
You know, you definitely have a lot more diversity in your group, higher diversity in your group than a lot of the zoos, because you know, zoos, they don't necessarily want to keep hard things to keep either. You know, they kind of want to keep things that are fairly low maintenance. And I know Roughies are a little bit higher than some of the other species I've worked with.
They're actually easier than I thought.
Yeah. Maybe it's just the information I've been taught and told.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or I'm just comparing it to the other ones.
Or compared to an 8-foot non-friendly olive. I mean,
exactly. Or the diamonds or the Bismarcks and yeah.
Oh, I forgot you had diamonds.
Yeah, get some diamonds.
That's a hell of a species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with all the cooling down, what is it called? Brumation?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not excited about that, if I'm honest, but I'm giving it a go, and we'll see how it goes. They're still young. I got them as babies. So
right. And what pairs are the closest to your breeding plan?
The blackheads.
The blackheads.
Yeah, post-het albino pair. So it's a bit hypocritical on the non-morph part, but
well,
we'll see.
It's still a blackhead.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just happy if I get some nice.
It's still yeah. That's a species that I'm very happy. I wish they were a little bit more readily available in the States.
Expensive, aren't they?
They are crazy expensive here. There's a lot of things. I think the last time I looked was $1,500 one. You know, not even a pair. I mean, you know, and if you want like real good breeder quality stuff, I think it's even higher than that.
Yeah, I think I've seen them recently for $6,000.
$6,000.
Yeah, 1,000.
What was it? A special morph or anything?
I don't remember. I just know that it was on Morph Market. I want to say it might have been 6,000 for a pair.
That's insane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy expensive over here and rough scales are 2,500 a piece. Yeah. Yep.
I might sell all of my babies to you guys then.
No,
I'll take them.
I would have to take a loan out on my car or something for that. No,
Do it.
we're not going to do that. But
You
yeah,
only
no,
live once. Come on.
it's a there's a lot of differences across countries because what's available in your country is not necessarily what's available in ours. And Australia hit the genetic lottery with carpet pythons. I mean,
Oh my god.
they
have everything.
they are producing some crazy carpet stuff down there.
Everything
I'm surprised, being in this hobby as long as I have, that carpet pythons aren't as prevalent as ball pythons. I feel carpets are hardier, but I think it might be linked to their disposition. People see a snappy carpet python, they assume it's aggressive. In the meantime, you have to work with them differently. They're not a ball python. You can't just reach in there and pick them up all the time. Those animals are geared for catching prey when they have to, when it's that snap second decision. Are we going to bite or ask questions? What are we going to do? Nope, we bite first. And then
I think it's the same with their living standards, because you can't rack carpets the same way you can with ball pythons.
Right. Yeah, they don't thrive in racking systems.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. I guess that's keeping 200 carpets and 200 balls is
probably a lot different financially.
Yeah.
As well as, the heat and everything else involved.
Yeah.
A lot of the colubrid keepers I see have this same ideal as the ball python keeper rack system, so on and so forth. But man, when you do see what we post, you'll see that I post that Kunisher Island rat snake a lot because he's in an exoteric vivarium.
I'm gonna go have a look.
And I post him
Right now.
fairly often.
Right.
And he is a phenomenal, first of all, beautiful animal, but at the same time, he is always out and about. And I could never think of putting that snake in a rack. I just couldn't do it.
No. That's the same with the blackheads.
Yeah. Oh, I would.
They're so active out all the time. It's awesome.
I could never put a blackhead in a rack system.
No, hell no.
I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do that.
No.
Speaking of out and about, I just gave my children's python UVB last week, and it took a few days. It took 4 or 5 days, but the last 2 days, I've seen him out during the day, like half of his body.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Out basking.
Yep.
You provide them with UVB. It's a massive difference.
Yeah, I mean the gray-banded king snake and the rat snake the Trans-Pecos rat snake that I typically take pictures of because they're very personable and kind of right in my line of sight every day. The gray-banded king snake has UVB, and so does the Trans-Pecos, and the gray band is completely hidden when I show up to the rescue, which their lights turn on about 2-3 hours before I get there, and when I show up. If you notice, you'll see the gray band's head is always in the channel of the vision enclosure in the pictures that I take, or she's just kind of peeking at me. And it's absolutely ridiculous. She's hidden when I get there. And then while I'm there for a while, she comes out to find me. It's not food. It's not food based in any way. I don't know what she wants. She loves to be held. She doesn't it's not a negative interaction. And she's never tried to bite anybody or anything other than a mouse. And even her mice, she takes completely calm and doesn't wrap them up or anything, just a very personable snake. I have to rethink some of the things I've said over the years because of that snake, actually.
Isn't that the great part?
That's how I feel about my children's.
Yeah, because you always learn.
Yeah.
That's the great part about this.
I love learning it. Yep.
Yeah.
I love how that changes from time.
Exactly.
20 years ago, people were having this conversation about turtles and tortoises, and I'm adamant that turtles and tortoises actually appreciate interaction. I think tortoise species genuinely interact on a personal level with the human, compared to a lot of the snakes that just don't care you exist. In my eyes, I've also had a lot of tortoise people around me who reinforce their behaviors and why they do things and how they come running to them. And, it's really hard to dismiss it as just a food keeper kept response, Yeah. So it's an amazing situation.
It's awesome.
But crazy stuff. What, when you, how long have you been keeping reptiles for?
I started when I was young. I kept some Burmese pythons, Akis, boa constrictors, and then we kind of moved around a lot, and then I lived abroad for a couple of years, and then I just recently got back to it in 2018.
Okay.
So all the animals that I have now, I got from the past, was it 3 years?
Yeah.
4 years?
Yeah. 4 years almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. That's a heck of an increase in a short amount of time. And I don't mean the amount of animals. Your amount of animals is perfectly good. I just mean there's some spectacular creatures in that group that you've only gotten in 3 years.
Yeah, some of them. I mean, I got the one that I have left of the first ones that I got is the biggest female of the rough-scaled pythons, and I have looked ever since for a male.
Okay.
And I found it like this autumn.
All right.
Back. So I mean, yeah.
So there's a lot of breeders of rough scales out and about.
3 that I know.
3 that you know of.
Exactly. I was a bit picky as well because I wanted 3 different bloodlines.
Yeah.
Even though
that's key.
It doesn't really make any sense with rough scales because of their history, but I wanted to I wanted to try at least to do my best. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, outcrossing is always important. It doesn't matter what, as long as they're the farther apart the genome actually is, the better off your offspring will be. The less susceptible to individualistic diseases and all kinds of other things. That's really important. Outcrossing is super important. That's why I think with ball pythons, and specifically this whole craziness about the spider mutation, I think the breeders who say it's fine are the ones that have properly outcrossed their animals over time. And I think that the people who see these other ones are the ones that are like breeding brothers and sisters together, and creating that really bad neurological tick.
Yeah. Might be.
I don't mean to, it's not about whether it's okay to breed them or not. It's just a matter of, I think that people are seeing 2 different sides of the same argument, and they're not, neither one's listening to the other. Do I personally think it's okay to breed spiders? No, I don't.
No.
Are they fine for me to rescue and rehome as pets? Yes, because believe it or not, most of them can actually feed themselves pretty well.
Yeah.
And they don't typically bite. They're actually usually pretty calm by comparison. But to see people actively breeding the spider genetic bothers me.
Yeah, same here.
And what's the leopard gecko? Enigma. The Enigma.
Yeah.
If you know it's got that issue, why would you produce it? Right? It doesn't make any sense. But then that comes back to what we were talking about before with nature knows best, and nature has done it right for X amount of years. Why bother letting that happen?
Yeah. True.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot with the jaguar carpet pythons.
Yeah.
Like I see more jaguar carpet pythons than I see spider ball pythons.
Yep.
When it comes to like available, like what's available, what's advertised.
I think I see more jaguar carpets than I see regular carpets.
Yep.
That's wrong. If you ask me.
Yep. Jags are something that were produced, and they were terminal when put together, and that was the only problem that we knew of back in the day. Now all these other genetic situations have come to light about it, and it's again, if you don't do it, you don't learn. But once you learn, you should stop.
Yeah, exactly. You can make
once you know there's an issue, that's when it really matters. That's when you should have the power to say, no, I understand I have $10,000 worth of animals, but at the same point in time, I should not produce these animals, period. And I think that's where Greg was talking about the self-regulating that we haven't been doing. I think that's the situation that he was referring to. We here in the United States with certain species of mammals have this United States Agriculture and Markets, which forces our breeders of mammals to be regulated, checked, so on and so forth. Even though there are puppy mills and stuff still happening, they pass by with very low numbers. But at the same point in time, in the States, we don't have any regulations on reptiles at all in terms of their care. None. Zero.
That's insane.
I know.
It's all up to the keeper.
Right. And that's why there's so many like Facebook groups from the States and like people who have different ideals. And, you know, you can go to a pet store today and get some different information than, you know, you got 5 years ago from the same pet store. And I think there needs to be there needs to be an entity at some point that comes in and says, this is the absolute minimum. Because if they're going to do that for dogs and cats, like, I mean, I don't understand why they haven't done that for reptiles yet.
We have that here.
Right.
Yeah. Governmental issued paper on the minimum sizes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, I learned that, I actually took a class from a company, and I can't think of the name of the company right now. I think it's Animal Courses Direct, I think. It's based in the UK, and they asked if I would, you know, if I could share some stuff of theirs a couple of years ago, and they let me take one of their like introduction to herpetology courses online, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I have free time, not really at all, but you know, okay, I'll post a couple pictures for a $500 course. Yeah, why not? Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. And I learned all about the regulations in the UK, and I was like, oh my God, we do it so wrong here in the United States. Like, this is terrible. But I think a lot of these situations that people are complaining about would be able to be solved if it was a matter of having some form of, not even, I don't even mean regulation, but like if the pet store says, you know, it's illegal to keep a snake in something that is XYZ smaller than what you think it is, you know, it would be enough that at least people who want to keep a snake can do it that much better and that much more correctly, and so on and so forth. You know, I know everybody here in the States are like they're gonna obliterate me when I say, you know, when they hear me saying this, but I watch the other end of this situation happening all the time.
Yeah,
the suffering, the inappropriate
isn't
care.
part of the making a nice enclosure, isn't that like half of the hobby?
Right.
Keeping the nice animals is one part.
Right.
Making it nice for them and building all the backgrounds and all the amazing work that people do today.
Yeah.
That's like that's I mean, I would say 70-30, 70 on the enclosure part.
Right.
And 30 on the animal.
I agree 100%. When I first kept my first
breeding, of course.
Right. Well, of course, but you're also when you're breeding certain things though, it's not a negative thing.
I don't think it is. No,
as long as you're choosing to do it responsibly, it's no different than a dog or a cat breeder. Well, nobody should ever breed cats, but that's not the point.
Yep.
It's the same as a dog breeder. Like, yes, you're breeding a dog that's going to be the member of somebody's household. And a lot of snake breeders feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
And they should just know that, you know, producing 50 ball pythons versus one clutch of pick whatever species you want that you have. You know, what's the trade-off there? You know, I mean, one is a super saturated market that you may not even be able to sell one of those babies. Whereas I guarantee you in the States, if you produced any of the pairs that you have, you'd be sold out the second they went on the market. Done.
Sweet.
You know, and I think it's not necessarily supply and demand with reptiles. It's also the other side of that is the next best thing. Yeah. What's the next animal that's going to be great to keep in captivity?
There are trends happening.
I mean, when I was younger, I couldn't sell a Mexican black king snake for $20. I couldn't give them away.
No.
Now you can't touch them in the States for under 200. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I don't breed.
I don't remember ball pythons being this crazy like 10 or 15 years ago.
Nope.
There was a carpet hype in early 2000s.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
But yeah, the ball pythons is just this era. It has been going on for a few years, and of course it's going to go down. I mean,
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You can't once you super saturate something, it's just going to be.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
I don't get you, Greg. You were keeping, was it children's pythons?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get why ants aren't more popular.
Oh, anything in the Antaresia complex. Yep.
But they're insane. I mean, you can get all the black pepper sprinkle morphs things, the albinos, the granites. They're awesome, and they're the perfect size as well. They're active. They're out and about. I mean, what happened to those?
Yeah.
Ball pythons are boring as hell. They don't do anything. Just lie there and breed and eat. That's it.
Right. Yeah. They don't do anything.
But they look pretty.
Right. I have I do educational lectures and demonstrations, and I have a ball python that I have had for 17 years, and he's a pastel. He's not a normal, but
Awesome.
he's a fantastic boy. He's been held by thousands of people. You know, and why do I let people hold the ball python? Because he doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as far as something that would be entertaining to keep, like, people don't keep fish because they want to pet it. People keep reptiles because they want to be able to interact with it, hold it, and do things. And I think Antaresia would be so much better. It doesn't, children spot it. It doesn't matter which branch of the Antaresia pythons, but like, they are incredible, and their size, their ability to tolerate cold, their you know, the colorations are better, the pattern is better. You know, I don't.
They're hardy. They have iridescence. They have some.
And they have like this perceived intelligence.
Yeah.
That you know, I'm probably people won't like to hear, but that ball pythons just don't seem to have.
Yeah. No.
Just because you know, I'll take out my children's python, and you just see his. I don't know if their eyeballs move or their pupils move. I think it's their pupils, if I'm not mistaken. But you see those pupils like changing directions and darting around. Yeah. And you know, you see like there's like a decision happening in his brain. There's like an awareness of things that like remind me of watching a reticulated python.
Oh yeah,
you have
as well. I forgot about those.
What's that?
I got some retics as well. I forgot about those. Sorry.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yampianus pair.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other thing about Antaresia. Besides the size and the color and the hardiness, it's the like interaction.
Yeah.
And
awareness.
The way that they just look or appear like they're making like intelligent decisions on what to do next.
That's why I work with the rat snakes complex. I just, all of them, they're all brilliant. They're all very, very interactive. And from day to day, sometimes you don't know which one you're going to get. Like, sometimes they're like, I don't want to be near you. You can leave me alone. And then other times they're just like, hey, what's up? I want to come hang out. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I fell in love with those here in New York State because we have the prevalent black rat snake here in New York State, which is, one of the largest and absolutely phenomenal in the United States. They think they're intelligent, they have to work things out in their own way. And I think from that, because we're not allowed to keep native species, by the way, in New York State. No, not without licensing.
Oh wow.
Which is ridiculous.
The other way around from Australia then.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Australia, I think, is worried they're gonna overpopulate and like ruin the entirety of
exactly.
But I get why they're so strict. I wish they would I wish they would at least open up importation or export of reptiles. If you can prove it's captive bred, can we just have some? That would be awesome.
Yes, please.
Like shinglebacks. Are you kidding me? Some of the shinglebacks that I see down there, like, I don't even really like lizards that much, but shingleback skinks are
the orange ones
out of this world.
Oh my god, they're insane.
What's the other species
as well?
Oh, the is it the thorny devil? I never remember which one's which. The one that's here in the States versus the one in Australia.
Yeah, thorny devil.
Thorny devil, right? They're amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to keep those in captivity though, because they eat only ants, and it's like 3,000 a day or something.
We here in the States could probably fulfill that one way or the other.
Really?
We have a lot of ant keepers, not necessarily everywhere, but I think there's a big enough entomology group of people here in the States that we'd be able to do it. We don't have as many regulations on insects, even though insects should be more regulated than reptiles. I'm sure there are, but there's a lot of people that just don't bother to look them up. And who's going to go to somebody's house and check if they have an ant colony?
No.
Right. True. It's at the end of the day that ties up police too much and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But, well, I definitely really appreciate the conversation, Jacob.
Yes, same.
It was remarkable. And I'm glad to see there's a lot of other people who are just like us in terms of thought process and forward thinking with reptiles and care. And it's endearing. It's nice to hear. And that's what we hope to bring with this podcast. We hope to even, at a later point in time, because I can have as many people on Zoom as I would like. We might even do like a whole panel of people, and just have a big conversation.
Count me in.
Yeah. All right, cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I love talking, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
I mean, if you're going to have a podcast, someone has to. So
that is a very true statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you, send us some video or some pictures and, what have you. I'll post stuff up. I'll add it to this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this apart. And I may put music to it. I don't really know. We do have a YouTube channel. The rescue has a YouTube channel. I don't know if Greg and I are going to market it on a separate YouTube channel or that YouTube channel or what's going to happen exactly yet. But
okay.
So, but vocally,
figure it out.
Sound wise, it's going to be, I'm probably going to have it on a separate podcast without the video also. So there's going to be other places that it'll be available for people to listen to.
Awesome.
Hopefully it doesn't cause you any grief, but you don't seem like you care anyway. So it's okay.
No, it's good. Do whatever you want.
Good. I really appreciate you taking the hour to talk to us. I'm sure it's dinner hour out there at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm single and I have all the reptiles. I'll probably throw up a rat or something.
There you go. That sounds like a plan.
It's Sunday. So
it is Sunday. Yes, it is. I have to see, this is the beginning of my day. So I'm about to end this and I'm going to save it to my computer and I'm going to head up to the rescue and I'm going to clean a whole bunch and make sure everybody fed last night right before I left. And, because I usually feed right at the end of the night, because then I know nobody's going to be moving around and making noise. And some of the shyer feeders will feed when it's overnight. And then I just go back and check in the morning and make sure everybody did what they were supposed to do. Yeah. Greg, was there anything else that you wanted to ask Jacob before we go?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure I'll think of something after.
Oh, we always will.
As of right now, no.
Always do that.
But that's great, because that means we just get to have another episode. That's all.
Exactly.
So, all right, guys. I look forward to doing this again. Thank you, Jacob, so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Hope you have a great Sunday evening.
You too.